All right, welcome back, Knicks fans. It's been a while. It's been what, like month to 6 weeks maybe, since we last did a video. Sorry, it's been a while. There's been a lot of life changes for, at least for me. There's been a lot of things, a lot of life changes, but it's all for the good changes. So can't complain. But Happy New Year, everyone. It's been a while. I'm here with Dre, and so we're gonna get right into this game. But first, Dre, how you been? How was your how's Christmas? How's your New Year's?
Yeah, everything was great. No complaints. Uh, just was able to enjoy some good Knicks basketball, and so yeah, all was well.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, the Knicks, they've been looking really good. Well, I'm not gonna say really good. They've been looking like a fairly solid team. Is really interesting. It seems like they'll go like, have like, let's say, a 4 game win streak or 5 game win streak, then they'll lose four straight, and then they'll win, they'll win maybe three, four straight, and then lose another four straight. So they're really up and down. It's almost like they go on these streaks, and it seems like that's how they've been since December.
Right.
It hasn't even been really. They haven't gotten into a really good rhythm where it's like maybe they'll win two, lose one, and then win another three or two, lose one. They can't even do that. It's like, they'll, like I said, they'll win five and then lose four, and then win three, then lose four. So it's really up and down. But what have you seen so far from these Knicks, man? How do you like the way they've been playing?
You know what? Julius has been playing great. It pains me to say that at times, but I got to give credit when credit's due.
I
Uh,
agree.
he's. I think he's been playing. I think he's playing better than he did even in his All Star season. Uh, his 3 point shot has really, really come around. I think a lot of that has to do with Obi shooting a three. He's kind of hearing those footsteps behind him, so he
Mhm.
has to step up a little bit. But like I said, he's been playing, for the most part under control. He's still at times the turnovers can get a little high. Jalen Brunson's been pretty consistent. Emmanuel quickly has been stepping up. Um, RJ is still sporadic. You know,
Yeah.
um, but I'm liking how the Knicks as of late. Um, since Mitchell went down, uh, you know, how our backup centers are stepping up a little. Different games, different ones are stepping up. So overall, I'm okay. I'm pretty satisfied with the players. Um, my issue right now still is going to be Tibbs. Tibbs is
Yeah.
still you know a problem, and so. But for the most part, I'm okay. Sybil, what have you been thinking?
Yeah.
Knicks.
Look, I mean, they're playing fairly solid basketball. They're really up and down, and I think it's really about their defense. If they can start playing defense, I mean, I think they can win. They can do a lot better if they start playing some defense. But it's just that's pretty much what it's all about for this team. But it's been pretty solid, so I can't be too disappointed. In terms of Julius, I mean, yeah, I agree with you, man. He's been playing lights out. He's been basically unstoppable in a lot of these games. In the fourth quarter, the team still struggles closing out games, and he struggles as well. But for the most part, he's been an engine, man. He's been a horse. He's been really doing a great job. I mean, he's been putting up some monster numbers. It feels like the last month and a half. It feels like he's been averaging probably 28 points a game or something like that. So I haven't really checked, but that's just what it really feels like. He's just been consistently dropping like 28, 30 a game. He's been playing great. Even the other thing that really surprises me too is the defense as well. The defense has been there. I mean, at times he gets gassed and he'll struggle because he's really gassing because he's playing so hard on both ends. But defense has been really there. I really like how he's been basically making his presence felt in the paint a lot more, trying to
Oh,
get more
absolutely.
offensive
Yeah.
boards. Yeah, I mean, he's, like he's, you know, honestly, the funny thing is like with him, I feel like he kind of gets stuck. It's almost like he gets stuck in the mud a little bit in the paint. But if he can just find a way to just loosen up when he's in there, just play a little more loose, you know. I mean, he can be really, you know, he's a very dynamic player. I mean, he can, you know, always say he's like the only player that I've known that can dribble, pass, and shoot, but doesn't know when to do either one of those. At least last
Yeah.
year, that's what he was like. But this year he's been like, you know, I mean, he's been doing a great job. He knows when to do it. But I just, it's just with him, it's just like if he can just be a little more, play a little more free. Oh boy, I mean, he's just like, you know, I think he'll be basically, he's pretty much unstoppable for the most part, the way he plays. I think he just needs to play a lot more free. Just, you know, that's pretty much what I think. Jalen
Yeah.
Brunson, I think he's been doing great too. You know, he's been playing pretty well, but he's a big hole on the defensive end. It's just like, it's unbelievable how, you know, like I did not realize he was this terrible on the defensive end, and so, but he's really bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah, and that was one of the concerns with bringing in Donovan Mitchell and having both of them in
yeah,
the backcourt. But
that is
Donovan
true.
Mitchell plays much better defense than Jalen Brunson does. And I just think Jalen Brunson's just too small. I mean, he's like a pinball. He just gets bounced around.
Yeah,
And so he's learned how to embrace it and go for a charge. You
hmm
know, so like if he's going to get bounced around, he might as well see if he can get a charge for it. So um, I, you know, I'm, you know, I feel like Jalen, you know, he's been very solid. I feel like IQ has stepped up, and I think you're going to find a scenario similar to Jalen Brunson and Donkovic, where they're going to have to, you know, I don't, you know, I know this may be controversial, but I feel like Quickly's a starter in this
yeah,
league,
I agree.
and and I can't imagine him wanting to keep playing this 6-man role, you know, or, you know, he in his mind, he feels he's just as good as Maxi. And you know what? Hey, he's looking that way. His
Yeah,
defense has gotten much better. You know, I, I, it's going to be a tough call. You know, there are times where I really wish Quickly was in the game. You know, towards the end of games, just because I mean, again, he can be a little erratic sometimes and doesn't always know when not to shoot, you know. But um, I mean, his game is maturing. You know, his game is maturing, and he's only going to get better. And so, you know, I'm going to be curious to see what the Knicks do. I don't think they're going to trade quickly. They'd be a fool to trade him at the deadline. I don't expect any major changes happening at the trade deadline outside of Cam and maybe Fournier or someone like that or Derrick Rose. But yeah, I just don't see anything major happening.
yeah, you know, I agree with you with that. Is like it's I do think they really they desperately need a window. But I agree with everything you say about Quickly. I feel like he is a starter. It was a little disappointing with the slow start he had to the season. That was a little disappointing to see because the way he closed out last season, I mean, he was just like the numbers he was putting up. Not just that, the impact that he was having, like on the team's play, and also the team's productivity was like it was really high. You know, I mean, he was putting up like the correlation between his performance and the team's performance. It was like I think it was like zero point 0.6 around. It was above 0.60, like 0.63, and that's pretty high. That's really high for an individual player. You know, but I mean, that's like, but it shows that's a big deal because it shows that he's able to impact the way the team plays on both ends of the floor. I mean, there's no, I mean, we saw last year. We've been talking last year about how honestly he was the best perimeter defender on the Knicks last year. The
Hands
defense,
down.
yeah, the defense he was playing last year was like it was remarkable. You know, this year he's playing good defense too. But honestly, uh, I think what people miss was like the defense he played last year from the beginning of the season till about February. It was just
Okay.
like it was just unbelievable. Actually, until about January, because I remember around I think it was like either mid to late January, his defense really fell off, and I think a lot of it had to do with like he was playing so terrible on the offensive end that it felt like his overall confidence just dropped. But he's playing great. He's very consistent. And he's shooting. He's being pretty efficient. He's also playing efficiently, shooting efficiently from the field. So it's really remarkable the way he's been playing, and I really believe they need to find a way. I do believe they should try to keep him. Honestly, I really feel like, um, honestly, Grimes, in my opinion, Grimes is not a starter. It's like
Not at all.
he's not a starter, and I've been saying this for a long time.
Not at all.
And it's because
Well, you
it's
know what?
you
You know what? So, well, I feel like he's definitely not a starter, but he's some he's some. I understand why it would be difficult to put quickly in there long term
Mhm.
because you got too many shooters. Everyone on that starting, everyone who would be starting, if you throw quickly and they wants to shoot. Grimes will
Yeah,
play within the offense,
true. Yeah.
and so that's probably why and Grimes' defense is a little bit better, just a tad bit,
Mhm.
and so that's probably why he's not playing him. But hey, I want to see quickly push Jalen Brunson, you know,
Mhm.
and I would love to see quickly close as point guard some games,
Yeah.
you know, you know, how much if you really think about it, how much better is Jalen Brunson than quickly? It's not light years ahead.
Yeah, because and I think the reason why is because quickly is a two-way play and Jalen Brunson is not, right? So that's a big
Correct.
reason why. For me, like honestly, I'm really looking at for me, I do feel like, I think you quickly can start with Brunson and even finish with Brunson. For me, it's like, what do you do with RJ? RJ he needs to be a two-way player. Like all that talk they were doing about him being a two-way player. And it was all like, I mean, they really talked about it last year. First half of the season last year, he was putting in the effort. Then second half of last season, when he was trying to beat a man, he just stopped playing defense or was picking and choosing. And I feel like now he's got his money this year.
Right.
Honestly, his defense is just not there. He's not even putting up a fight. It doesn't even feel like he puts up a fight a lot of times. It's just like, it's his defense has been just really worrisome. And so the problem with like obviously having the issue with having IQ and Brunson starting, IQ is a very good perimeter defender. And I think he can hold his own out there against two guards, right? But then it's just like you need a long wing who's actually going to play defense out there. And for like since RJ has been in this league, everybody's hoping and praying he's going to be that guy, but he can defend guards, two guards, right? Because it seems like he doesn't have the foot speed. They just constantly blow right by him. He gets backdoored all the time, and he can't play against threes because it's almost like when he's playing against threes, and he's a strong dude, and he doesn't even put up a fight. He'll got people posting him up and going over the top on him. It's like people backing him down, and it's just like, or people just even threes just blowing right by him. And so, I mean, his offense has taken a huge step this year. I really like, he's improved a lot on the offensive end. But I think in terms of like the whole team, the way the whole team is built right now, it's like they just don't have any depth. They don't have a real wing on this squad. I mean, like it's at least a wing that can play defense. Cam Reddish, they're not playing him. Obviously, they want to get rid of him or trade him, which is baffling to me. But because they're trying to trade away something that they need on this team, and but that's neither here nor there. I don't want to debate about spilt milk, but yeah, but
Right. Well,
that's kind of yeah. Go
I
ahead.
was going to say, and I was going to say that's a problem in itself.
Yeah,
So Knick fans all want ready for a trade, but do you think whoever we trade for is going to get any playing time?
I know, right? That's a very
And
good question.
that's
Probably not.
and that's the problem.
Yeah.
That right there is the issue. So it goes back to Tibbs, you know.
Yeah.
One of the things, I just in-game adjustments. Tibbs he just doesn't have it. What and another thing that I noticed today,
Mhm.
which has me a little worrisome about a little worried when it comes to Randall, is the same thing I worried about him when uh when he had his All-Star season. What
Mhm.
is he going to do in the playoffs when the double team occurs? So when the
Mhm.
Celtics double team, what happened today?
Throws it away.
Turnover,
Yeah.
turnover, and turnover. And so that's the blueprint. You don't have to triple team him. You
Mhm.
you can you can throw a strong double team and bad things happen. And then he'll mentally check out most days,
Yeah.
especially in a playoff atmosphere. And
Mhm.
so I'm still, I am still not ready to give him the keys yet. I'm not convinced. I he can do all these great things, during the season, but I need to see him show up in a playoff series before I say, okay, you know what? We really have something special here.
Yeah.
And I'm just not convinced yet. And tonight made me think. I saw the double team and I saw him coughing the ball up 2, 3 possessions in a row. I said, "Oh, there's the Randall I know."
Yeah.
There.
It's like it. Like he honestly, yeah. I mean, it's. I think during the issue is during crunch time, he should not be handling the ball as much as he does. I really feel like it really should be Jalen Brunson, and I just don't understand why sometimes Jalen Brunson just kind of like gives up that responsibility. It just kind of acquiesces to like to Julius, and I feel like it's Jalen Brunson's responsibility to just he needs to be he needs to step up in that moment. He needs to step up, run the offense, and get Julius a good shot. I mean, that's just what he needs to do. And but they're not doing that. And I think that's why I feel like that's why they're really struggling. you know and the other actually the biggest reason, like, and not as like, and that is true, the reason why they struggle in crunch time is like obviously they struggle because like decision making, right? Julius Randle gets double teamed and he turns over the ball, or Jalen Brunson is just like, I mean, he's just not, they're doing too many one-on-ones and he's not running the offense and trying to get like, get Julius an easy shot. Because you saw like in overtime today, when he finally kind of like ran the off, kind of basically handed the ball, kind of ran the offense, got Julius a nice in rhythm 3-point shot. Julius just straight knocked it down, and that's what, he really needed to do. He needs to find ways to get Julius just easier shots, either basically open 3-pointers or at least get Julius like moving on a move going towards the basket. And I think it's Jalen's responsibility to do that, and he just doesn't do it enough. But the biggest problem, they would not have to worry about that if this team just plays defense. I think that's their biggest problem. They just do not play defense. It's like, especially when it matters. And then they can't rebound to save their life when it matters. It's like, and the other thing, the reason why they can't rebound, Grimes is not a very good rebounder. It's like people never want our guards, Grimes, RJ. They're just doing a terrible job. Both of them, Grimes and RJ, they do a terrible job rebounding the ball. Same thing with Brunson. A lot of times you see them there watching. Today's game was a great win, right? It's like, but they almost lost it because like they couldn't even close out possessions. I saw basically a lot of times where a couple of possessions where Sims, he's trying to do what Mitch does. He's trying to get up. He's trying to be more disciplined, make sure he's got a body on the man, right? And he's boxing out, trying to. When he does that, everyone else, they need to come in and get the ball, right? Because he's got the body on, like, on his man, or at least on the rebounder. But they just, a lot of times they're just staring at the ball, and it's like, what are you guys doing? And so, and a lot of times it's almost like they're asleep, or they're just not, they just don't have a good feel. It's either they don't have a good feel or they're just not like just because maybe just getting rebounds is not what they're used to. So it's almost like they just kind of fall asleep or something like that. And so when there's a long rebound, it's like they rarely get long rebounds. And it is the guards and those wings that are supposed to get the long rebounds. And they never get it. And so they almost lost today's game because of that. And so I look at basically the game, 49 game, um, uh, they 49 games they played this season. Actually, let me look at the whole season. But 49 games I was looking at from game 12 all the way to the Cleveland game. I mean, the Knicks, they're shooting 46% from the field. But the problem is they're almost giving up almost 46% from the field, like on the other end. So they're allowing opponents to shoot about 46% from the field. That's just their biggest problem. If they can find a way to bring that down to like below 45, you're gonna see them win more ball games, but they just can't. They just and the crazy thing is like Julius was the one I used to complain about not putting in the effort. And he's actually doing a pretty decent job on the defensive end. And then now it's like
Sure.
RJ is just like he's just like melded in on a defensive end. And Grimes, I'm sorry, Grimes is like he's not big enough. So when it really counts, when it matters, he's not going to be able to stop. He's not going to really get I'm not saying crunch time per se, but he's not always going to be extremely effective because he doesn't have the height. And so just between the combination of RJ, Grimes to a lesser extent, he's pretty solid. And then when you don't have Mitch in there, whatever bigs we have in there, they're just not very good. Even Sims, although he's tried, he doesn't have a very great feel on the defensive end, like not the way Mitch does. So man, it's just so it's just defense. It's just always been their problem, and it's still their problem this year. And the Knicks are a very good offensive team. I think people are not talking about that enough. A lot of the fans,
Okay.
they're really I think they're really good on the offensive end. They're putting up really good numbers on the offensive end. The efficiency is just really high. And I kind of understand also why they do a lot of one-on-ones, a lot of ISO ball. The thing that people don't understand with ISO ball, when you have people that can actually go get you the bucket and they're shooting 50%, you're better off just giving them the ball. Because if you're then moving around the ball, if you're trying to pass the ball around a lot, sometimes like in the midst of trying to pass the ball, you may miss a good opportunity and you can also turn over the ball, right? And so a lot of times it's just easier instead of risking turning over the ball. You're just better off if you know he can go get you a bucket, just go give him the ball and go so he can go get you a bucket. And worst come to worst, if they double team, although we struggle with the double teams, but someone who's better at making decisions in double teams will pick it, will pick most teams apart, right? And like it will be, a nightmare for the opposing team, but it's just something they still struggle with. But what do you think about today's game, though? It was a nice win. It got you there, able to pull it out. But what do you think about the game?
Well, you know what? To be honest, I was really shocked that we pulled it out. I When they started this surge towards the end of the fourth quarter, I said, "Here we go,
Mm-hmm.
here we go. We got the cardiac Knicks. Here we go."
Yeah.
And uh, I was really surprised. And to me, this win was huge, just from a confidence factor. We played on national TV,
Mm-hmm.
prime time, playing against the best team in the East at their home. Oh, this was huge. You
Yeah.
know, this was truly a huge game.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think this is going to be, I think that we could use this game as a true pivotal game of saying, hey, gotta watch out for the New York Knicks. There's no easy win right now. And so I'm very optimistic just about the players we have right now. I'm just not confident. I still, like I said, I still have my challenges when it comes to Randall, even though he's playing great. He's
Mm-hmm.
still playing great. I cannot say that he is not. He is playing amazing. My biggest concern is the coach. And he still hasn't figured out ways to incorporate the bench and play to a lot of players' strength, and that's
Mhm.
troublesome for me. And so, but overall, I thought today was a great game. I
Yeah.
really, they showed a lot of moxie. Even when RJ was having a pretty off game, for him to be able to hit that clutch 3-pointer, that was huge. So, I'm very satisfied with the Knicks play today. What do you think about the game?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I thought it was a gutsy win, them being able to pull it out, especially after losing the lead late in the fourth quarter. I thought they did a great job pulling it out in overtime. It was gutsy. I kind of agree with you. With the coach, for me, it's like, I mean, they should have gotten rid of this. In my opinion, they should have gotten rid of Tibbs last year. But it's almost like if they would have tried to get rid of him this year, then it would have been a problem because I think then Dolan would have cleaned house. Because if they would have had a bad season or been in a place where they had to get rid of the coach, I think Dolan would have just kind of got rid of everyone at the end of the season, and they would have had to start all over again, which may not be, I don't know if that's a good thing, but yeah, I mean, it's there were some worries about the way he plays, the bench. In my opinion, I feel like with Obi Toppins, it's he's not one of like the other young guys, right? But
Right.
he is like this is his like third year in the league, but he's not really that young. So I give him kind of less leeway in terms of like the coach's influence on the way he plays. And look, I'm sure the coach has a big influence on the way he plays. And if he doesn't play the way the coach wants, then I guess the coach is probably going to sit him on the bench, right? But
Well,
it
yeah,
is very disappointing to just see him just being just a 3-point shooter. I don't care that he's making it 3-pointers, and it's nice he's making it, and it's good for the team. But I mean, that's just a waste of talent.
yeah.
Um,
He can do so much more.
yeah, and
You
it's
know, and it's the same thing he did with Kevin Knox. And did you see that game when we played Detroit
yeah,
and against Kevin Knox? I mean, Knox looked great out there.
yeah,
He was slashing, hitting the 3-pointer, playing in the flow of the game.
yep,
And you can't tell me that Knox would have been able to play like that here.
yeah.
He looked like the Knox of his rookie season. Remember, we all thought like, Knox had so much promise.
Hmm.
Um, but you have to be in the right system.
Yeah,
And you know, and you got to have a person a coach who can play to your player's strength, and then also expand their talent. So it's like, okay, well, you know what, you're really good at this. Okay, well, we'll definitely utilize it. If you're a good 3-point shooter, you're a good slasher. However, I want to challenge you to to be a spot up shooter, or be able to shoot off the dribble. You start adding um different dimensions to your game, and that's just not what I see. I just don't see Tibbs as that player. you know
yeah,
so I mean, well, I mean, sorry, to see Tibbs as that coach. I just realized that and with Obi, Obi has to really step up on his defense. Oh my God, this guy, his defense is really taking a dive like since he's been back. I mean, I watched, it seemed like everyone who drives on him, he did get right past him.
yeah,
You know, um, he, he definitely has some deficiencies, but he's still playing like he's on an AAU team looking at the coach. See if he made a mistake, he's going to get pulled out. No one else is doing that. And, and that's just confidence. That's just pure confidence. And
yeah. But I
so,
think that's also because of the coach too, right? I mean, it's if the coach
yes,
pulls him out for every little
absolutely.
mistake, so I mean
Absolutely.
so it's
A-
you know,
Absolutely is the coach. Absolutely. Because
yeah,
he's, even though, he's still a late bloomer. Again, you know, in age, he's what, 23, 24, but mentally, you know, he's still, I feel like, they got to figure out a way to get him going. You know, find a way to play to his strengths. I mean, when RJ and Quickly's in the game, they're not even looking for him. No, they're nowhere near looking for him.
Yeah.
And they are, RJ is upset because he didn't get his shots because he's playing with Randall and Brunson, and he's not getting his shot. So when he gets in with the second team, he's trying to take every shot he can.
Yeah, he's breaking everything.
And RJ has the skill set to be a playmaker.
Yeah.
And what makes you a playmaker is you have to be a threat in scoring. And so that when you become a threat, a consistent threat in scoring, it opens up opportunities to find other guys. Because if you're blowing past your man and then somebody has to come and help, guess what? Somebody's open.
Yep.
Someone should be cutting, someone should be spotting up somewhere, and you find them. And that helps your game. And I don't think that Julius and RJ can work long term. I just don't see how it's going to be able to work.
Yeah, one of them got. Yeah, honestly, I think one of them probably needs to get traded. And you know what's funny? Remember I was thinking early in the season, I was saying before, like when they were having the troubles, and I was like really evaluating, like, okay, what happens if they trade, like who they would have to trade between Julius and RJ. And I was actually looking at it more from the standpoint, because if you have to trade Julius or RJ, if they have to make a decision to trade one of those, then it probably makes sense to leave, to not trade Obi, right? And so, but the thing that made me really think about, like at first you would think, okay, Randall's the one you trade, but then when you actually really think about it, about the way the roster is constituted, and then the issues on the defensive end, then the problem is like it's almost like if you trade, because if you traded basically Julius, then you would have basically Obi, who struggles on the defensive end, right? And then
majorly.
And then you also have RJ, who kind of picks and chooses. And this year he just chose not to play defense at all. This whole year he's not even picking and choosing games. He's just picking the whole season. He's choosing not to play the whole season, and so it would be a huge problem, because then you'll have Obi and then like RJ, if they're both of them are not very good on the defensive end. But with Julius, I think although Julius, it's difficult to get him to take responsibility and do what he has to do, especially on the defensive end. But they finally got him to do it when they turned things around. And he's been doing it. And so he has the ability to play defense. He's got the foot speed. I feel like Julius, actually, he's got the foot speed to stay with threes. He definitely is strong enough to stay with fours and fives. And so he's just the one person I felt like, okay, it just makes sense to keep him and then trade RJ, because it's like, because with RJ, just honestly, you just don't know, right? And it's and then the fact that he's not going to be it doesn't look like he's going to be a two-way player. It just made it feel like, okay, if they traded someone, it may be RJ is the one they end up trading. But that's what I'm just thinking the team does, based on like the way the roster is and their issues on the defensive end. If they had to trade one of them. But for me, if I had to pick one to trade, I still would trade Julius before I trade RJ.
I'd say I would trade him too. And let me tell you why. I'll give you two reasons why, right? My first reason why I would trade Julius first, because guess what? You can pick up you can get you a Taj Gibson to back up Obi, right? So, when Obi's not, playing defense, you bring in a veteran that only needs 15, 20 minutes a game, right? But my number one reason is right now, Julius is playing at an all-time high. His value, prior to this season, we were like, oh God, we're going to have to attach a first-round pick. Nobody's going to take this guy. Right now, he should net us 2 first-rounders. He should be able to net us 2 first-rounders and a quality young player. So you know, I feel like what's going to happen, he's going to get exposed in the playoffs, and his value is going to go down, significantly. And
Yeah.
so he's still going to have this major contract. Now,
Mhm.
if he didn't have this big old contract, then I think he would be, it would be a lot more favorable, to move. But it's gonna be extremely hard. And I feel like the Knicks, right now they're relying on him so much, so much. And um, I just don't. I feel like he. I just don't feel like he's a good fit. I just don't feel like he is. And I feel like, and he could do. He may be a better. He may be a better fit with a different coach.
Mhm.
But he would have to. I'm telling you, we're gonna have. I've seen it before. We're gonna have buyer's remorse again. He's made a
Mhm.
little comeback, and you watch what happens in this playoffs. And so he's got to go. As much as well as he's playing,
Mhm.
you know, that's the best business decision. You give him to a Sacramento or one of these teams, and we're not gonna do well. But in order for us to take for the Knicks to go to the next level, they have to have a superstar player. We have to have a bona fide superstar player. Julius Randle's not that guy.
Yeah.
He's not that guy. He is he's playing on an all-star level, but he's not that franchise guy. I can't imagine you starting to try to build a team around him. Like, who would you get? Who would you bring?
Yeah.
So
You
yeah,
know that.
so that's
Yeah. I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree with you on that. I mean, I will trade him because of like what he would net you, but it depends to who, right? And what picks. I mean, like if we trade him to the Suns and they give you like 2, 3 first rounds, I mean, that's worthless. I don't need the Suns, their first round picks, because their first round picks are just worthless. So it would have to be basically some team that you think that has a good chance that they're gonna tank, that things are gonna fall apart. And
mhm.
so, and there's got to be a team that's moronic enough to like, to forget that Wembanyama is coming out this year. And, so I don't know if any team is going to be giving up their first round picks this year, but maybe future first. I think I can see maybe if they trade him to a bad team that's willing to give up like let's say future first, not like the one for this draft coming up, but for the ones after this draft, then I will consider it. But if it's like teams like like a team that's going to be a perennial playoff team, it may not really be worth it, right? But then again, I mean, like I still would trade him because I agree. I don't feel like he's a great fit. But looking at how the front office sees it, because the front office is looking out there and they're probably trying to think, okay, if we trade Julius Randle, who are we going to get? Well, it's like we may get some good draft assets, great, but they want to guarantee. They want to be like they got to show progress, right? They had a bad season last year, and this year they're going to be a first round bounce. And next year, if they trade Julius Randle and they don't have anything in return, and they have a bad year, they might be nervous that they're going to have a bad year, and so they may end up like not trading him because of that. Because they got to figure like in order for them to trade Julius, they need to be confident that they feel like they're gonna get somebody in return who's gonna basically replace that production. And honestly, I don't think they have confidence in Obi replacing even some of Julius's production.
Yeah,
In my opinion, I think in terms of points, I think OB is going to make the offense a lot more free flowing. But then again, I don't know. The coach is not. The coach doesn't. This coach is not very good, so he's not a great offensive coach himself. So I just don't. It may not even work because he still may not even know how to use Obi, even if Julius isn't here. So I just think it's going to be hard for for the front office to cheer Julius because they feel like they don't have confidence in Obi and they don't know who's going to replace Julius in terms of production. So that's why
yeah.
it's difficult. So I think
What? They're not going to trade him at the deadline. I can tell you that. That's not
No,
going to happen.
definitely not. I see
Yeah,
maybe them trying to do some things on the margin, like you said. I know people threw out people like OG Anunoby out there.
that's a good. That's a good pickup.
Yeah,
That's a good pickup.
yeah, and it depends what they're asking for, right? So that's one. The other one, honestly, people are. I think they could do is like nobody's really, they kind of somebody brought it up a little bit before, is getting Bullock back. Um, I think that's a possibility. They can actually take a swing at that. I can see them trying to take a swing at that because they want somebody who's going to play defense out there in the perimeter, and it's
He's declining.
yeah,
That's why they're willing to get rid of him. He doesn't. I mean, he's not making a whole lot of money, which is great, but he's not the Bullock that we had. He's not that
true.
player anymore.
Yeah,
He's
I mean,
he's taken a significant decline, and that's why they're like, yeah, we'll give you him. You want him? It's not, and it's not. You don't have to give up much to get him. And I feel like bringing Bullock back, he's going. What's going to happen? Tibbs is going to play him, and
mhm,
your young players are going to suffer.
yeah.
They had to
But
get rid of like Taj. They had to get rid of Taj just because if you didn't get rid of Taj, uh, Tibbs was going to play him. And guys like Obi and Sims and all them guys would have never been able to see the light of day.
yeah, but with
So
Bullock, you're gonna get him because you are gonna play him, right? Because it's like because the thing is, who are we gonna play at the three? Who's stopping anyone on the wing? Like who's stopping like a two guard, even a three? Like Grimes, if the guard is small enough, if the two guard is small enough, okay, he'll basically do some good work. But you're starting to see Grimes is just too small. He plays good defense, but he's got that ability to to strip the ball on a fast break. And I mean, there's some things that he's able to kind of keep a man in the perimeter and stuff like that. But he's a little small. And it's like I think we're just getting killed because we don't have anyone to play against wings. And so I think if they got someone, a wing like Bullock, they are gonna play Bullock, because it's like who else are they going to play? And like Grimes, I mean, like look, Grimes he's a good defensive player. His offense is pretty okay. There's some nice things that he does on the offensive end, but just the production is just not there. So you're just better off getting if you're like, what did Grimes give us today on the Grimes scored 5 points today. He played 38 minutes. He shot 2 for 7. I mean, he's been doing a lot of this. He's doing a lot of this, like 6, 7 points, 8 points on 40 minutes of play. I mean, you can't. That's just not. If you're going to do that, right, then you need to get serious about that wing position and like get a real defender out there. I mean, Grimes is a good defender. I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying you can't play Grimes anymore when you get a wing defender, but you need a wing defender to take up the bulk of those minutes, to get like because it's I think that's where the Knicks really struggle right now. They just don't have enough length. It's just so but that's why I think it's those are some possibilities. And if they don't do that, I just don't know what else they're gonna do. I mean, like I kind of look at like the people that are out there on a trade block, there's like no wings out there that's on a trade block, really. Karis LeVert, but he's not like a defensive stopper, it's well, okay, interesting. Jeremy Grant, they say, is on a trade block. He's available. I've been looking for him since every time the last few years, I've been hoping the Knicks find a way to get him here. Because Jeremy Grant, he can play the three position.
what's his issue? I don't understand. He's a heck of a player, but why is he getting bounced around so much?
I don't know. I mean, I think sometimes maybe they look for a lot from him on the offensive end. When he comes here to the Knicks, he doesn't have to do a lot on the offensive end. He just got to play some defense and knock down some open shots, and he's a smart player too. So, I mean, I think if they can get him, I mean, this will be great if they can get him. But that's the
Oh, that
only
would
one
be
I see.
huge. I mean, but I. So yeah, you pick a guy up like him. He's not going to go for giving him OB type minutes. Yeah,
Oh
that's
no, he won't
not
get
going to
Obi
work.
type minutes. He won't. You
He
know.
won't go for that.
Nope.
So it goes back to back to the coach.
I hear you. He's gonna play. Trust me. If you get him here, I mean, the coach got to be smart enough to play him at the 3. Hopefully, the coach is gonna do something stupid and play him at the 4. Look, Jeremy Grant. People think because of his size and think he can play the 3. He can play at the 3. When he was with the Nuggets, he played a lot of 3. When he was with the Detroit Pistons, he played a lot of 3, and he's a very good defender at the small forward position. And he's got a lot of length. And at that point, then what you really have then at the 2 guard is what it should be. It should be actually RJ and Grimes battling for who gets minutes at the 2 guard position. And so you can start RJ because he gets more production. But if he's not playing defense, you can always just pull him, because you have playmakers out there anyway. You can just play Grimes then, and then you have playmaker because you'll have the playmaker in Jalen, and you got Julius who's a playmaker, right? So I think that's what I would do. I would do that.
Okay, so who would you give up for Grant?
For Grant, would I give up? I mean, I'm sure they'll take a swing at first of all, we'll probably have to give up a first round pick for Grant. But then I think in terms of a player going the other way, the salaries will have to match. So it might be Fournier. So we may end up sending Fournier in the trade. We might take the opportunity to
Fournier in a first round pick, giving up Dallas's first round pick.
Yeah, probably Dallas's first, or one of the other, maybe Detroit, one of the other first. It could be one of the protected first, but I don't think they're going to go for protected. They're going to want to unprotected, so it might be Dallas. The Bucks have a first round. We got a first round protected from Bucks, but it's protected 1, 2, 3. So, and I think that's for 2025. That's a very interesting one, given Giannis, they've done a great job managing his minutes, but there's a good probability that Giannis can, if he misses, let's say gets injured, and he is getting a little older, although he's still really young. What is he, 26, 27? But
right.
You think it's possible 2 years from now, because he gets injured quite a bit sometimes. So, I mean, if he misses a season, the Bucks could be in the lottery, and we have that 1, 2, and it's only protected 1, 2, 3. So that's one that's pretty valuable. I think people will take. So, but yeah, that's what I'll give up a first round pick, and Fournier. That's what I will do. I don't think it's going to take a whole lot. I think they're just going to want the first round picks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but what do you think about just the other thing I wanted to say real quick about Obi is it's what I was saying before about him was with Obi, I felt like it's although the coach influences the way he plays, because he's got to do what the coach wants him to do. But when he does have the opportunity, Obi's been going up really weak this year. He's been going really soft to the basket. He's been getting his shot blocked. He's been going up really soft. I don't know if he's trying to be pretty. I don't know what he's trying to do, but he just needs to go. He just needs to go hard to the basket. The dude is a leaper. He's a Skywalker. He just needs to get up there and go. So I think that's the one thing where I'm pretty disappointed with Obi on, is just the fact that he's just not going strong to the basket. I don't know. So the 3-point shot, it is what it is. It's fallen for him this year, which is a good thing. But he just needs to go strong to the basket, and and we'll see what the Knicks do with him, going forward.
And you're right. That's probably one of his biggest challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Is that he's not showing strength. He has the size, but it's he could actually learn something from Randall, how to play, physical.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know if he needs, I mean, I saw him, over the summer, there were clips of him and quickly in the gym to get stronger, but I just don't see him playing like a stronger guy.
Yeah, he's just not. He's not playing strong. You're right. So it's something he's really got to work on. And if he doesn't, he's not going to really do well in this league if he doesn't play strong. But the one thing I do fear though is like if we let him go, I just have this feeling he's going to go somewhere else. Like he's going to be averaging like 22 points a game, like
Exactly
22
what's going to
and 8.
happen. That
You
is
know,
exactly what's going to
and,
happen.
and
And
everybody's going to be like, player. He's going to be like player, most improved player, and we're going to be like, shoot.
yeah, he's. I just feel like he's a late bloomer,
Mm-hmm.
and to me, you know what? I would keep him. I don't see any. I I there's two sides of me. One, I feel like I want to free him and let him go play somewhere where they'll utilize his skill set. You know.
Yeah.
Then it's the second. Then the other side of me say, well, keep him. If we got to re-sign him, we're not gonna pay him more than 12 or 13 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
So why not let him sit? You know, at some point, Randall is going to get hurt. At some point,
Yeah.
at some point, there's just no way the physicality that he is playing at right now is going to be sustainable. You know,
Yeah.
um, and so, and then that'll be his time. That'll be his time. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah,
um,
they'll have to get rid of the coach if that's going to happen. If they're going to keep Obi, I mean, like it's like either that or the coach is going to have to get saved and come to Jesus or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody needs to baptize him so he can see the light. But aside from that, for to keep Obi, they're going to have to get rid of the coach because I just don't. I
what
don't
do
know.
you think?
Will
What do
he?
you
Will
think?
he?
What,
What
yeah,
was
I
that?
was going to say, what do you think Tibbs' shelf life is right now? What do you think? Because he's best friends with Leon,
Mm-hmm.
so Leon has no intentions on firing him no time soon.
Yeah.
So what do you think that? Like if the Knicks make the playoffs, they're not going to fire him. He's not going to get
Yeah.
fired.
I mean, they may if they make the playoffs. The way they're looking, they're not, especially the way they're playing defense right now. I just don't see them getting past the first round, really. Now, if they basically start playing some like, the defense they were playing on a stretch when they were like holding teams like close to 100 points per game, then okay, then we're talking. Then you can convince me of them getting to the second round, right, or even doing a little more damage. But it's just they just don't play the defense that they need to play, right? And so, and Tibbs is a defensive coach. The reason they're just gotten this far is just because, like I said, they have good offensive talent on the team because of you got Jalen and Julius. It's just really difficult to key in on Julius, and so he's just killing it this year. And so, but they're above average. They're actually really good on the offensive end, but they're underachieving because I just think they're underachieving because the coach hasn't gotten them to buy in and play the defense they need to play, or maybe the schematic isn't. Well, no, I don't think it's really the scheme. I've kind of done a breakdown on that before. It's just really uh, they just don't the players aren't just playing the players aren't just getting the job done on the defensive end. They don't get back on defense fast enough. They don't rebound well because a lot of the breakdowns that they have is like they're lazy getting back on defense, and then they end up with a ton of mismatches that lead to easy wide open layups, or basically they don't get the rebound, and it's like a lot of times they're giving up two three second chance, uh, two or three offensive rebounds in one possession. So to answer your question, I think I think they might feel the pressure if they make it to the playoffs and they get bounced in the first round. They're going to feel the pressure to do something to improve, right? And what are they going to do to improve? Who are they going to bring? I mean, like if they decide not to fire the coach, and I just don't see them being that much better the following year unless they get some kind of stud defensive player on the wing, to who's going to be the difference maker that they need out there. So a lot of it just depends. Who are they going to have? If they keep Tibbs, or they're going to have to actually shore up the defense out there in the wing, because that's the only way I see the Knicks actually kind of like, like let's say winning more ball games next year than they're going to win this year. And if they don't have a plan to do that, then I see them feeling the pressure and maybe making a change to the coaching staff. And I would actually want, like, I was a big proponent of, like, giving the young guy a shot. The guy from Utah, who's the associate head coach.
Oh, Johnny Bryant.
Yeah, Johnny Bryant. However, the thing people need to be careful about, unless they know Johnny Bryant and Johnny Bryant shows that, like, he's going to have a different philosophy than Tibbs. A lot of times, like, these assistants, right, or associate head coaches that are coming up under, like, let's say a Tibbs, they basically, they don't know any other way, right? Unless they're really thinking a game out there by themselves and, like, and saying, okay, I see what the coach is doing. This is what I'm going to do different. But a lot of times they're just going to do what, their mentors have done, So the one thing I fear is he going to do the same thing that, follow the same formula that Tibbs has, and is he going to do the same thing Tibbs is doing? And then it's just going to be like everyone is going to start pulling out their hair if that happens. So I think a lot of this is all, like, just based on, there's a lot of things that impact whether or not they fire Tibbs. And I think a lot of it has to do also with, like, like who them being able to, like, what player are they going to get to kind of help them get them to, for them to play better next year. If they feel they have that player, they're not going to fire Tibbs. If they feel they're not going to be able to get that player so they can take that next step, then they might feel pressure to make a change with the coach, because the front office is going to be looking for improvement, and not the front office, but the Dolan. So, what do you think? What do you think his shelf life is?
I mean, I feel like if he makes the playoffs, they're going to keep him. They're going to keep him because it's still progress, right? So even if you get bounced out the first round, or even if you get swept, it still creates a baseline. Now if you continue to get swept, or you continue, you're not improving. Because again, right now, typically the Knicks coach usually we give them at the very best 3 years.
Yeah.
I think Tibbs will get afforded at least a 5-year. And especially if they make the playoffs. He's never going to tank. He doesn't even know what that word is. And so, which is essentially, developing your young players, giving your young players more time, so they can develop and be much better the next year, but I just think this is going to be a slow death with us. I don't see unless something catastrophic happens where the Knicks don't make the playoffs. I don't see it. I just don't. Not while Leon Rose is still the president. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And again, at the end of the day, the Garden always sells out. Doesn't matter if the Knicks win 20 games or not, or how pissed off they are. They've been pissed off for the last 20 years. So, it's going to be tough. I wish the front office would tell us what's the game plan. Where are we trying to go with things? What's the thought? And we just don't know. We're just all in the dark. And had the Knicks pulled off that trade for Donovan Mitchell, and still kept, Julius and Brunson, all of them in play, that would have been huge. And then if you have a situation where Donovan says, "Hey, I don't like this coach, and I want out. Either he goes or I go." Then you get that type of scenario. Yeah, but it's gonna have to be it would have to have been a player of his caliber to be able to say something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, man. It's like that probably would have been our best bet for that change to happen. It's the one thing about this front office, and this is why I've always like, the thing that makes me nervous is because of how chummy they all are with each other. It makes me nervous that like when a change happens, I have a feeling Dolan's gonna throw all of them out in the street, uh, throw them all out with their
And
bags
he's
and
the type of
everything.
guy to do that.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. You have an erratic, you know, um, owner. So that's probably what would happen. He would get rid of everyone. It would be a mass firing.
Yeah, and the reason why that is, I think the reason why he would do that is, is because of they're just too like if you look at it, it's like they're too chummy with each other. They're all family pretty much. Like,
Mhm.
like all these guys practically raised, all of them, from the front office to the head coach, they practically raised Jalen Brunson, right? And the president basically when he was an agent, his first client was Tom Thibodeau. No, I'm sorry, it was Rick Brunson, right? And he also represents Tom Thibodeau, at least when he was an agent. It's just like they're just way too close. It's almost like a family affair. And it's just like, and then it kind of worries me like, okay, are they going to be able, they're not going to be objective enough to do what's right, because it makes me think like you just look at something as simple as like, look at that whole like Cam Reddish thing, the Cam Reddish situation. I don't care what they think, like like Cam Reddish was not that bad on defense, and the issue with their defense is like it was just like before, like I said, it was Julius, RJ, and Jalen. They were horrendous, and it basically had a cascading effect. Well, actually, you don't even when you have three of your starters are just not playing defense or putting in the effort. I mean, it doesn't matter what the other two do, right? But it seemed like Cam Reddish when you looked at a lot of the videos, it seemed like he was being a little erratic on the defensive end, right? But it seemed like what Cam Reddish was doing a lot of, he was trying to cover for everyone else's mistakes, you know,
Correct. Uh-huh.
and especially on the wing, it kind of felt like he was playing like safety a lot. And so sometimes you'll see him he get caught a little bit in no man's land. But it was just like it was really a result of like how the other players were playing, RJ, Jalen, and Julius. And I just don't know what happened there. It just doesn't make any sense. You can't tell me you were able to get Julius to buy in to playing defense, right? And teach him what he needs to do. Teach him, finally get him to learn his rotations, right? The same thing with, like, and then for that short little stint when RJ actually improved his defense a little bit when they turned it around. I mean, like, you're telling me you can get these guys to do it and also get Jalen to put in a little more effort on the defensive end, and you can't get Cam Reddish to and defense, I mean, the effort is not even the issue with Cam Reddish on defense. It's really probably just like more of the learning, making sure like he's more disciplined and kind of staying true to what he has to do instead of trying to cover for everyone else's shortcoming. And in a lot of ways, it's Tibbs' fault anyway, because that's the way he plays your defense. He's got the way he plays, he kind of has these guys playing defense is like, it's almost like a team defense that they got going on, right? No, it's almost like you're kind of guarding your man and you're also guarding the ball, even though you're away from the ball, right? And so it's not even like all Cam's fault, but it's just, I guess the point I'm just trying to make is just like, I just don't understand why they've allowed this coach to just like bury this kid on a bench, and they need a wing. They need a defensive wing, and they have one on the bench that they refuse to play, that they're trying to trade. They're going to trade this young wing, right, to another team so they can get another wing who's going to have a lower upside than Cam Reddish does, who's actually frankly going to be probably a worse player than Cam Reddish. I mean, like, make that make sense to me. Like, like the player they're going to get is going to have a lower ceiling than Cam Reddish does, and it's probably going to give them less production on the offensive end that Cam Reddish was giving you. And he's probably going to give you the same thing on defense, maybe a little more discipline on the defensive end. But that's what's going to happen. And I think those are some of the things that's kind of contribute to this, that's contributing to this organization not actually moving forward and like actually getting better. And if given that the situation with Cam Reddish, honestly, Derrick Rose wasn't playing that bad on the defensive end. The numbers, like I saw a lot of the the defensive plays, like a lot of the offense, the opponents that they played, their offensive possession. I mean, Derrick Rose, he's not the same player he was, but his defense wasn't that bad. And then also, even if you look at his defensive stats, individual defensive stats, it was pretty solid. He's still holding like opposing players, I think, to like something like 42% shooting. That's still one of the best on the team. So, I don't understand that either. And then of course, then you have the Obi Toppin situation, so none of this makes any sense. And I think, given that, and then also, of course, you have Isaiah Hartenstein. He's like not giving you anything really. And he gets like 20 minutes a game, sometimes 30 minutes. And so it's just a lot of things that the front office and his coaching staff does that doesn't make a lot of sense, that kind of holds the team back. And I think that's why right now, if you had to give them a grade, it's got to be like a C, right? Just a C, and not even better. And so, but the C doesn't do anything. It doesn't get the fans excited. Fans are okay, they're winning some ball games, but nobody's really excited about much aside from like having a 46 and maybe a 46 and like 40 whatever 46, what was it? I guess 46 and 30 something season, winning 46 games. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's so it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I agree, man. I totally agree. I mean, we just Cam not playing is just ridiculous. There's no rhyme or reason, no rhyme or reason.
Yeah.
And you're right. That's why I am not excited about us doing any trades, because I don't think wherever we trade for, he's never going to play him.
Yeah.
The coach is never going to play that person. And everyone is going to wonder why. He's only going to play him if he's forced to, and that's going to be equally frustrating for the front office.
Yeah.
He didn't play Cam when Cam came. Think about it. How long did it take Cam to actually play?
Yeah, it took a while for him to start getting into games. Yeah. Took a couple of weeks, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he got traded at the deadline, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Cam didn't get in forever.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But this is the coach that we have.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, oh, we need more bench help. You can get all the help. You have the players here right now. You're just not utilizing them. And you bring in Fournier before you bring in Cam?
Unbelievable, right? And that's what they needed, defense, and they bring in Fournier. That's really interesting. I was watching another show and they were like, there's got to be something political or personal going on. I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily political or personal. Tibbs is like that. He's like he's really a jackass like that sometimes. I mean, remember with the whole thing with like when they benched that point guard last year that we had. Look, I mean, the point guard was terrible on defense, right? He wasn't playing very well, so I didn't have any issue with them benching him. My issue is like, dude is a veteran. Like, you don't like the fact that the guy did an interview and they're like, and he said Tibbs didn't even talk to him when he benched him, right? Didn't give him, didn't let him know what was going on, why, and he had not spoken to Tibbs since he got benched, and it was like
I remember that.
Weeks.
I remember that situation, but I can't think of who it was.
Kemba Walker.
Oh yeah, Kemba Walker. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, but that's the stuff Tibbs does. And that's the way he plays people. It's like, and it's like, I don't know. He's like really weird. He's like this really odd character he could be really messed up. It's almost like it's like, like he's using the player. He just uses you, right, for what he needs. And then he kind of, when he's done, he discards you. That's why he doesn't care that he'll play his players consistently 40 minutes a game. He doesn't care, you know. Kemba Walker and Derrick Rose last year, he knew both those players. Any idiot knew that you can't play both of those players more than 25 minutes a game, right? So
Mhm.
you would have to play both of them. They would have to split time, and they got to play maybe 25 minutes each, if anything. But he like, you know what you saw what he did. He played Kemba Walker 40 minutes a game until he broke down like a week and a half, and then he played Derrick Rose 40 minutes a game until he broke down about a week later. And both of them were basically shot for the season. So I mean, that's just the stuff he does. And so that's just kind of how he is. So I don't think it's personal or really political. That's just how Tibbs is. And he's very narrow. The way he views the game is very narrow-minded. Like there's kind of this very narrow path that he feels like the team needs to walk for them to win, and he feels like there's only certain people that he needs to kind of get on that path to stay on that path. And it's just like that's just kind of how he is, and he doesn't want to deviate from that. And that's why he kind of leans on certain players for like a ridiculous he leans on certain players a lot. In a lot of ways, it's like, it's not a great thing. It's just he'll play them until they break down, pretty much. And so that's just what I think. What grade would you like? What grade would you give the front office, and what grade would you give Tibbs on the season so far?
Well, front office, well, we haven't really. I would give them a B minus right now. Um, Tibbs, I would give a C. You know, he would get a. You know what? I will give him a C. I would. Well, no. Overall, the way the Knicks are playing, I would say it's a good C plus.
Mhm.
Tibbs, I got to give him a C minus. I just can't. I can't give him even a solid C. What he's doing with this bench and going back to his Chicago Bulls ways of playing players, running them into the ground. I mean, this is his MO. He is playing to what he knows,
Mhm.
you know. And by the time the end of the season, these guys are worn out,
Yeah.
you know. And I get it. You got a lot of players, almost all your players are under 30. So I get it. They can run. You have some horses, but we can you can there's games where you can see Rando is gassed. He
Mhm.
is truly gassed.
He was gassed tonight. Yeah. Nice. Yep.
You know, and if the bench is still keeping you in the game or have a lead, why do you not keep them in there a little bit longer if you can? There are
Mhm.
times where I'm like, look, you know what? I get it. They're messing up. Get them out. But
Yeah.
then when they are playing well, the team has a lead or they're bringing the team back, and you pull them. You pull these guys, and it's like, for what? You know, RJ
Mhm.
was out. He came back. His first game got 40 minutes. He was
Yeah.
out for almost a month or so,
Yeah.
and you know, he comes back. He automatically gets 40 minutes. Obi comes back. What did he get? He didn't even play the first 3 games.
Mhm. Yeah.
Come on,
So
come
it
on.
was just unbelievable stuff. And then, like when he finally does play, he starts knocking down shots. Like what they desperately need is some some perimeter shooting. And then it kind of makes you like, so why was he on the bench? Why didn't you play him? And it's like, it's man, I agree with you. For me, I think the front office, I would just give them a C. And the reason why I would give them a C is because they got a C because for me, Jalen Brunson, the fact that they're able to land him. But I think, and that they were able to maintain status quo. Like, they were able to keep Mitchell Robinson, and they were able to get Jalen Brunson. So I give them a C for that. Um, like, not being able to navigate the fruit like the off season. Um, I don't think they did that great because there were a lot of, there were some good options out there for us. And, because we whiffed like the guy who went to Atlanta. we could have got him cheap, right? I mean, like
Yeah,
that was like,
Murray.
they were so focused on like Donovan Mitchell, and it's like honestly, Murray was a better fit, and it's like
Absolutely.
that was crazy. He's a better fit for this team than Donovan Mitchell was. Like they focused all their attention on Donovan Mitchell, and so that was confusing, and they whiffed on Donovan Mitchell. It didn't work out. So I pretty much give them a C because of that, and then also of course like I talked about like the fact that they haven't been able to because of Obi Toppin, like the dude is playing like 12 minutes a game. You got Cam Reddish like just not playing at all. Like why did you if this is what you're gonna do, if you're gonna draft somebody 8th overall, right? And then you're going to just sit him on the bench and play him only 12 minutes and then just have him shoot 3-pointers when he's a 6'9" Skywalker. It's like it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, why do you have a Cam Reddish on the bench when you're actually actively looking for a 3-and-D wing? That doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, it's honestly, sometimes I want to give him a C minus, to tell you the truth. As the year has gone on, it's like I kind of was giving them like I was thinking a B when his year began, but now it's actually gone down to a C minus because like with hindsight and kind of being able to look at the whole season and kind of see how things are transpiring, it's just not a very good job. And then with the coach, the same thing. I kind of want to give him a C minus as well because it's just he's a one trick pony. It's like he's not he's not a genuinely really good coach. He's one of
Right.
these coaches that like he only knows one way to get it done. And so he's trying to get like a square peg to fit into a round hole. He's that kind of guy. Instead of basically designing something, you got a bunch of square pegs instead of again, designing a board or cut a square hole, but he doesn't want to do that. So he's just going to keep banging his head against the walls. Like, why isn't this square peg not fitting into a round hole? And he's going to do that all season, So that's just so yeah. I mean, that's just kind of what I see from him in terms of his performance, and the same thing for the front office. Look, I mean, they're doing solid. Statistically, they're kind of on point. This is what the kind of like the stat was saying, like the model that I ran in the off season. It was showing that they were going to be somewhere between like the model was actually showing between like 40 and like 44 wins, somewhere in that range. So they're kind of like around there. And I thought like the reason why I thought like the model was off, I thought they could be better. Because of I didn't realize Brunson was such a terrible defender. I felt like the model was penalizing him because I thought maybe just the overall team defense in Dallas was bad when Brunson was on the floor, and maybe he was being penalized. The model kind of penalized his input based on that, but he's just I think the stats told the truth. He just sucks on defense. But yeah, but basically the model just showed the Knicks are going to win somewhere around 44 games, between 40 and 44, and it looks like they're kind of pretty much on point. They basically split that right down the middle. So
yeah, so far so good, right?
yeah, that's what it looks like. But so that's pretty much what I have, man, on these guys. I mean, they were able to pull out a nice win today, but again, defense for me is an issue. The defense was better today. The Celtics only shot 41%, but where the Knicks struggle was basically closing out the possessions. Although they played good defense, they couldn't close out the possession. They gave up 64 rebounds. 16 of them was offensive rebounds. At one point in the fourth quarter, I think it was like the Celtics had 21 second chance points and the Knicks had 8 at one point in the fourth quarter. I think like halfway through the fourth. So if they can keep improving on the defensive end, I think they may have a shot to make some noise in the playoffs. But if this is the kind of defense we're going to continue getting, great win tonight, but I think they're going to be a first round bounce.
Easily. Yeah, easily.
So what do you got any closing statements? Anything you want to say before we turn it in for the night?
just let's keep an eye on, you know, keep an eye on. I still want to keep an eye on Julius.
Mhm.
You know, still want to keep an eye on him, especially during when he's getting double teamed. And I want to see if he can work through this, during the season before the playoffs come.
Yeah.
Also, I want to see RJ get a little bit more consistent. And what I mean by that, especially when he's with the second team, taking better shots, not forcing shots. Uh, so those are kind of my two takeaways and what I'm watching for, for these next upcoming games.
All right, cool. Yeah, same here. I'm definitely going to look out for that as well. And just real quick, just to put it out there, we talked about OG Anunoby. We talked about Jeremy Grant and Bullock as possible options. I just want to throw out a few other names that were out there that are on the
Okay.
trade block that are wings. There's Jay Crowder. There's Eric Gordon. John Collins, he's a power forward. Kyle Kuzma's out there. Buddy Hield, but that's a little small for what we need. Of course, we said Jeremy Grant. The other person, Ben Simmons is out there. Terrence Ross is out there on the trading block. Josh Richardson, that's an interesting one. That could work. Terrence Ross is a little old. He's a little long in the tooth by now. So he's getting a little older. And so that's pretty much it for defensive wings that the Knicks could use. Bradley Beal is out there, but the contract is heavy as heck. Kevin Durant is out there. That's an interesting one, which I'm surprised. I'm surprised he's on the trade block. I mean, I'm sure the asking price is going to be pretty crazy. Jordan Clarkson apparently is on the trade block. McCollum is on the trade block, but they're not the kind of what we're looking for. We need defensive wings. And there's Kyle Anderson, Tobias Harris. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much this Kenrick Williams. I'm not sure. I think he's a power forward. I'm not sure if he's a power forward or a small forward. But yeah, I just wanted to throw out the wings that were out there on the trading block. So there's quite a few of them, but not a lot of defensive wings. In terms of defensive wings, it's just going to be, I think it's Josh Richardson, Terrence Ross, although he's a little on the small side, and Jay Crowder, he's long in the tooth. Eric Gordon is also long in the tooth. So I just don't really see anyone who's going to really make a difference for us on the defensive end, except for Jeremy Grant. This is my opinion. Jeremy Grant, Josh Richardson, possibly. OG Anunoby, definitely, if we can get him. And honestly, I think Bullock on the defensive end can actually help us. So those are the four, I think, and the rest of my name. But so that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching. And, it's been a while since we last dropped the video. But if you're watching this, thank you guys so much. Make sure you like and subscribe. Feel free to comment below, and I'll make sure I respond to everyone's comment. And, hopefully I'm going to say we're going to attempt to try to see if we can do one a week, either on a weekend, probably more on a weekend. And, that's what I'm going to commit to right now, and hopefully be able to do more than that going forward. But that's pretty much what we have. Thank you guys so much for joining me, Sybil, and Dre on this New York Knicks talk. You guys have a good night. Thank you.